All right, welcome back, Student of the Gun Radio. I'm your host, Professor Paul Markle. Thank you for joining us yet again for another soon-to-be award-winning broadcast. And, folks, I'm going to warn you, just in case you're new to the show, just in case, I'm not here to talk about your feelings. I'm not here to say what you want to hear. I'm here to say what needs to be said. That is my mission. That is my purpose. That is why I take the time to get in front of this black carbon steel microphone on a regular basis. Is because I'm here to say what needs to be said, what is not being said by far too many people. And the reason that I can say it is because I don't just talk about it, I do it. I've done it, I've been there, I know of which I speak. And I want you to keep those things in mind as we progress throughout today's show. And on the other side of the glass case of emotion is Jared, he's doing that wincy thing where you pinch your nose like you have a headache or something. Headache. You have a headache? Why do you have a headache?
I didn't wear my glasses while I was doing the work today on the computer.
Why would you do that?
Because my glasses are not
here? They're at your house?
No, they're here. They're just not ideal glasses.
Oh.
I need to get a new pair.
Okay. Well, with that being said, I'm going to take a drink of this blue liquid.
Oh, yeah, because they don't sponsor us, so we don't say their name. Is that what it is?
Blue's not a flavor.
This blue liquid.
Blue is not a flavor.
It is, too. It says it on the label. Does it say blue ice or something? It does, doesn't it?
No, but this is the one that Ricky Bobby was promoting. And we look forward to the launch of at the dinner table when he was praying, due to a binding agreement, I must acknowledge Powerade at every grace.
That's funny.
A binding endorsement agreement.
That's funny.
But I don't have a binding endorsement agreement, so I don't have to say it at grace every day. All right, well, welcome back to the show, folks. We've got some information for you guys. A story that I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it, but I wanted to talk about it because we haven't talked about these folks up there in the People's Republic of Illinois for a while. And I just put on my amazing Kreskin future-telling hat, and I'm pretty sure that if it hasn't happened already, it will happen very, very soon. Little Rami and Gary the Enforcer. Maybe Gary the Enforcer, maybe he ran to a microphone this morning. He likes to do that. He runs to the microphone or he gets on the radio and calls for more gun control. But we haven't done a slave state update today. So let's go ahead and do one.
We haven't done one today.
No, we haven't done one today.
I like to teach you all the rules. I get to see them set in stone. I like it when you chain me to the bed, but then you see me never show.
All right, thank you, Puddle of Mud. That is control, and that's what it's all about. Never forget the root word in gun control is not gun, it is control. It is who has control of the guns. And we know that you peasants should not be allowed. All right. The story comes to us from www.nbcchicago.com/news/local/Chicago gun violence. More gun violence. Those guns just don't know how to behave themselves. Headline, 3 dead, at least 13 wounded in weekend shootings across Chicago. And that is the weekend prior to the moment that you hear my voice here. So it was datelined June 28th, Sunday, June 28th. 3 people have been killed and at least 13 injured in shootings across Chicago since Friday evening. The most recent fatal shooting happened about 2:10 p.m. Sunday in the 9900 block of South State Street on the far south side. A 22-year-old man whose name has not been released was shot multiple times and pronounced dead on the scene. Next story up in their line is Chicago burger named the best in the U.S. Oh, that's not the story. That's just the little thing they want. So if you can't get enough stories about dead Chicago residents, you can go to the story about the Chicago burger being named the best in the U.S. Another fatal shooting took place around 7 p.m. Saturday, and it goes on and on and on. So you might be thinking to yourself, now hang on 1 second there. I thought, as did Jared, that Chicago and Cook County and the state of Illinois all had the strictest gun control regulations in the United States of America. Is that not true, Jared?
Well, but the Supreme Court made them start issuing concealed carry permits.
Oh,
so,
that's obviously, yeah.
Yeah, that's what the problem is that these people now, they have the FOID card and the special concealed carry permit. So
I wonder if you put a FOI card and a CCW card in the same wallet if they catch flame or catch fire.
I thought you were going to say something about
fornicate? No.
Chains came around your feet or something.
No, but ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, ask yourself this. You're smart. You're intelligent listeners. How is it that a city, a county, a state that boasts the most restrictive gun laws in the nation, I mean, they're fighting with D.C. and New Jersey for, top dog as far as the most regulations and restrictions. How is it that there could be so much violence? Must be the guns, right? Maybe it's the NRA and the Tea Party. Maybe it's their fault. We're waiting with bated breath for little Rahm Emanuel, the anointed mayor of Chicago, and Gary the Enforcer, the top cop. He's not the chief of police. He's like, I don't even know if he's the police commissioner. What's Gary the Enforcer's official title? I can't remember. And
Chief
I really
of
don't.
Vagination
And I don't really care. Because they're both a couple of shills for the state, and I'm sick to death of both of them. But pay close attention, folks, as the news cycle progresses. Listen up or pay attention for little Rami and for Gary the Enforcer to get out in front of a microphone or a TV camera or something and to call for even stricter regulations or to blame all these killings not on the humans, or at least not on humans that committed the acts themselves. No. We can't hold people responsible for their behavior. It's got to be access to inanimate objects. That's what it is. Now you say, well, all these guys in Chicago, all these gangbangers and people that are committing murders, I'm sure they all went to the local gun shop and they filed their paperwork and they showed their cards and they waited and they got all their stuff and they did everything above board, right? Because that's how street gangs get guns, isn't it? You're like, what? It's not? That's not how street gangs get guns? And that criminals are always going to have guns and making more laws does nothing but increase the number of, good victims in America? Oh, you're crazy. You folks at home, you're so crazy. So we thought you'd appreciate that. Keep a sharp eye out. I guess you could chalk that one up to another win for gun control. We got a long show. When I say long show, the next topic, the following topic, is going to be essentially one long topic, but it's going to have many, many parts. So it's going to require you to pay close attention. Now, the beauty of this show and this show format is that you can go back and re-listen to it. Yes, you are allowed. I will give you permission to listen to this show more than one time. All right, before we get jumping into the topic here, SWAT Fuel, they're our friends. They're good dudes. Well, Dr. Dan's a good dude, and the people that work with him are good people. And if you are looking for that little extra edge, that little extra oomph, I don't care if you're a professional athlete or if you're an occupational athlete, check out SWAT Fuel, SWATfuel.com. And if you do decide to make a purchase, make sure that you're using the promo code SOTG2015. You're going to save 10% off your total order, and that is righteous. Velocity triggers. They are designed for precision. If you've got a black rifle, you do? What? You got a black rifle? That's crazy. If you got a black rifle, they have a trigger for you. Check those guys out at velocitytriggers.com. And finally, last but certainly not least, our buddies at Crossbreed Holsters. You carrying a gun? I'm carrying a gun right now. Matter of fact, I'm carrying a gun in a Super Tuck holster very, very comfortably on my body, as I do most every day of my life. If I have pants on, you can pretty well be assured that I am armed. And if you catch me without pants on, well, shame on you, and how did you get in this room? All right, folks, let's talk about veterans being victims or the victimization of veterans. I want to share a story with you. I'm going to share a story with you from my life, a personal story. My maternal grandfather, my mom's dad, for those of you who went to public school, he is a World War II veteran, but not only is he a World War II veteran, he's a veteran of the attack on Pearl Harbor. And again, for you kids that went to public schools, ask someone who's a little bit older what Pearl Harbor was all about. Now, he was wounded during the initial attack on Pearl Harbor. His ship was struck by a torpedo, and he was on deck, he was blown up into the air, came down, his leg was broken, and he had to lay there with a broken leg and watch Japanese planes, torpedo bombers and dive bombers fly overhead. He was evacuated onto shore, and they fixed him up, and by the time he was repaired and out of the hospital, his ship had been repaired and he was ready to go to sea. So he went to sea on the USS Helena. That was a cruiser. The CL-50 was the designation, Cruiser Light 50, and I believe it was a St. Louis class ship. Anyway, so he went to sea with the Helena. He participated in the battles of Guadalcanal, or the campaign to take Guadalcanal, the battles of Cape Esperance, the Battle of the Kula Gulf, and then his ship was sunk out from underneath him and all of his other shipmates, and many of his shipmates died. Many of them drowned, were burned to death by the diesel fuel and the crude oil that spilled out into the water. My grandfather obviously survived. Well, maybe not obviously, but he did. Those who survived had to float around on life rafts. They eventually were washed ashore onto a Japanese-held island. And many of you who may know your history of World War II is the Japanese held hundreds, if not thousands, of small, tiny islands in the Pacific, but they didn't have enough people to garrison them like everywhere. So you could actually be on the island and the Japanese not know it. Now, a cool part of history is what you may know, all of you history buffs, is that when the Japanese started taking these islands, the Allies set up what they called the Coast Watchers. And these were essentially spies that were left behind on the Japanese islands, and they equipped them with radios. They had to hide the radios up in the jungles and, climb up a tree, go up a hill, and make transmissions down to Australia, and they could coordinate and so forth. Well, one of these islands, very fortunately for my grandfather and his comrades, was under the protection or the watchful eye of one of these coast watchers. And he called in and he said, "Hey, we've got American servicemen on the beach. You need to hurry up and get these guys out of here before the Japanese figure they're here." My grandfather was rescued. He got malaria while he was on the island, had to recover, went back to work on the USS Missouri, and he stayed in. My grandfather was in the United States Navy from 1941 through 1946, spent the majority of the entire war years overseas, saw my grandmother a couple of times during World War II. Now, when I was a kid, I listened to stories at my grandfather's feet about World War II and about Navy life and ships and aircraft carriers and battles and Japanese and, Zeros and Zeeks and all that kind of stuff and meatballs and World War II history, guys. But never one time, and my grandfather came back and he went to school and he became a draftsman and he worked full time, and he never one time would I have ever thought, would it ever even occurred to me that my grandfather, who saw combat in innumerable battles, had his ship blown out from under him, was wounded more than once, that he was a victim. That somehow he had achieved victim status. And my grandfather never, and he never would have, he never will, say that he's a hero. He would say that the people that he lost were heroes. But here we are, and if somebody could legitimately complain about stress or post-traumatic stress or watching their friends die, serious physical pain and injury, the participation in the battles. Do I need to tell you that naval battles in World War II were pretty violent and serious events? We weren't just pushing buttons and launching missiles. No, they were up on the decks loading cannons and guns, anti-aircraft guns, shells all over the place, explosions everywhere, dive bombers, kamikazes, torpedo bombers. They had to worry about submarines. Even if they weren't engaged in a battle, there was a constant worry about a submarine slipping in to the battle group and sinking them during the night while they were sleeping. You'd think that might be just a little bit of stress, just a little bit of emotional stress. The fact that when my grandfather's ship was sunk, talk about emotional stress, the news got back to the United States that the ship was lost, and they had no idea what happened to the crew, whether all of them survived, some of them survived, a few, maybe. They didn't know. They could have all been lost. My grandmother thought she had no idea whether he was alive or dead for weeks, because they didn't have the internet back then. They didn't have CNN. You just had to wait for telegrams and letters and so forth. A little bit of stress. So on one hand, you have the World War II veterans, and my grandfather wasn't completely unique in that regard. There was thousands upon hundreds of thousands of American men and women, but mostly men, who went forward to 2 different theaters, who fought and fought and fought and fought, and then came back and went to work to rebuild the United States of America, to have families and houses, and they turned this nation into one of the most powerful nations on the face of the earth. They did that. You know what they didn't do? They didn't stick signs in their front yard to tell everybody that they were a combat wounded veteran and that they needed special protection. I can't even fathom my grandfather doing that. My uncle was in the Navy on an aircraft carrier, on the Ranger, during the Vietnam War. And I can't fathom him doing something like that. But here we have a story, and thank my buddy Mookie, Ben Mookie Thomas. As I'm wont to do, I came to the studio this morning, and I opened my computer, and I'm farting around. And I'm guilty of this, but I'm guilty for a reason. I go to the homepage on Facebook, and I start digging through. And quite frankly, you guys, yes, you out there in the listening audience, and lots of other people will share stories, and they send us. You guys send us Facebook messages and so forth. Well, Mookie posted this story from, I think it's Tampa, right, Jared? Is that what it says? Tampa, Florida. My Fox.
Yeah, L.A.
Oh, L.A. as in Louisiana, or is that just where it's coming out of?
I don't know. It's myfoxla.com.
Okay, well, it's myfoxla.com is the source. But that's not necessarily where it is. Let me see. Maybe it is Los Angeles. So Ben shared this morning, and I called him, and I said, dude, what in the ever-loving beep, beep, beep is going on here? And he said, dude, I saw that. But he also told me, he said, you need to read another story, and we're going to reference that later. But I'm going to go ahead and let Jared play the audio for you. There's an audio news link here. And then I'm going to go ahead and discuss it from the viewpoint of a veteran who has lost friends in combat and has been in, I know why I saw that, because the ISIS cake was from Fox Tampa Bay. That's why I was confused.
This one
with Florida.
It's from Florida. It's Valrico, Florida.
Okay. All right, but this was reported on...
It's reported by Fox LA.
Okay. All right, Jared, go ahead and play the story for us, and then we'll move on from there.
Works on the 4th of July. It's how we celebrate our independence. But for military veterans with PTSD, it's the kind of explosive celebration that sometimes brings back horrific memories of their time at war.
Well, Fox 13's Aaron Mesmer is live in our control room tonight. Aaron, some vets are taking steps to let neighbors know, I guess, how fireworks affect them, aren't they?
Yeah, Kelly and Mark, some folks are putting signs in their front yards, and one Valrico veteran says he just hopes that his community sees it and realizes that for him and so many others, the 4th of July can be brutal.
Run. Let's score a touchdown. Run.
Russell Cook Jr. enjoys all of his todays.
There you go. See?
Because Cook's tomorrows were far from promised.
There was an explosion. It was about maybe 5-10 feet from me.
That was in 2004 in Iraq. a roadside bomb went off.
I think we were really lucky to get out of there.
By 2011, when he retired as a staff sergeant, his unit had been hit by 3 more explosives. They came under attack more times than he can remember.
I'm seeing things that I don't wish anyone else to see.
And his worst memories are triggered by loud booms, like fireworks. It's a cruel irony that the day we celebrate our freedom is a nightmare for a man who fought for it.
They just fire off fireworks at all times during the day and night, so it just, for that week and week after, it's hell for me.
Cook has post-traumatic stress. He posted a sign in his front yard asking the community to be courteous with fireworks on July 4th.
Putting a sign out, it helps me let the neighbors know that I have a problem.
Psychologists say fireworks can be devastating for some veterans.
It can be something where they could have a full-blown panic. They can even really feel like they're back in that moment and re-experiencing the trauma.
Cook doesn't want anyone to stop celebrating the Stars and Stripes.
It holds a deep meaning to me knowing that we still get to fly it. Throw it to Ben.
He just wants people to stop and think about veterans like him.
But it's senseless, I think, just to fire fireworks for 2-3 weeks straight. I mean, saying try to keep it to the 4th of July.
And the organization that makes the signs is called Military with PTSD. They've delivered about 2,500 signs so far this year. That includes roughly 100 to folks here in Florida. Mark and Kelly?
You guys heard that over there. He's got his little, what did you call
Tickle
that?
Me ammo.
Tickle Me ammo. Poor Tickle Me ammo is getting punched. And there's the damn doll.
All right, listen up, freaks. Let me tell you what. I know a lot of you out there, because you have good hearts, and you have soft hearts, and you have compassionate hearts. You listen to this story and you said, oh, I feel bad for this gentleman. And I want to have compassion for him. And I think his neighbors need to have compassion for him as well, and they need to honor his wishes. And all of you veterans out there, all of you dudes, all you alpha male personalities, you've got your own Tickle Me ammo doll, and you're probably freaking out right now.
Thank you for censoring yourself.
So you don't have to go in later and do it. Folks, all right, my own personal experience. I was with 1st Marines, 1st Battalion, 6th Marines, Charlie Company, for anybody who gives a crap. And we were part of Task Force Ripper. We were over there during Gulf War I. We didn't know it was Gulf War I then. We just thought, hey, we're just going to go over in the Gulf and hang around the desert for months on end and let flies take food out of our mouths and stuff like that. The flies in the desert are so aggressive that they will go into your mouth after food. They will. I'm not even joking. But anyway, and I've talked about it before. I'm not going to rehash it, but lost a friend over there. Was, artillery barrages, tank battles, all that stuff. And we won. And the crazy thing about Gulf War I is we disregard it because we did so well. We did so well. We did the job so effectively that it was almost like, wow, I know it lasted. The ground war itself. And everyone's like, the ground war only lasted 100 hours. Well, yeah, it was, but there was like 9 months that led up to all that. We had this thing called Desert Shield because we didn't know it was a storm yet. And that's where we went over in August to the desert, because that's the best time to go to the desert is in August. And stay there for August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, and so forth. And then we came back the following spring. But, folks, and just to editorialize real quick, a lot of you Desert Storm Shield, whatever, veterans, probably feel the same way as me. You're like, wow, we did the job so well that it's almost like you're punished for it. Like, it wasn't real war because it ended too soon. You didn't have enough casualties. We should have drug it out for months on end and had tens of thousands of casualties. Then it would have been a real war. Like, well, what if we actually do it really well? And what you guys don't understand is what was going on at the time was that we were actually being told by the media that we shouldn't be there. Jared, you don't know this because you were a baby. But the media was all over George Bush and that we shouldn't have been there. And this is the first Bush, not the second one. We shouldn't be there. You have no idea what Saddam Hussein and the Iraqi army is capable of. They publish stories constantly about they were the fourth largest army in the world, and they had so many tanks and so many artillery pieces. We used to see this crap. We'd see it in Time magazine and all those other liberal left-wing rags about. You don't know what you're up against. They fought an 8-year war against a bunch of other goat rapists in Iran, and they're battle hardened. We used to get that. We were being told when we were hanging out, living under camouflage nets and holes in the ground, because we didn't have Connex boxes or AC or any of that crap. But we were being told constantly that the Republican Guard, they always throw the Republican Guard at us. And it wasn't our guys. It wasn't the Marine Corps. It wasn't the DOD. But it was the big media, the British media, the American media, the big media about, oh, you guys shouldn't be there. Oh, you don't know. He's got chemical weapons. And, of course, they were all over the chemical weapons thing then. And then when George W. Bush, they're like, there's no chemical weapons. What are you talking about? There never was any. That's just a lie that he made up to take us to war. It's like, dudes, what does Yeager say? He goes, yeah, they had chemical weapons. We had the receipts. We sold them to them back in the 60s and 70s and 80s when they were our pseudo-ally. And we had intelligence briefings from EOD, and I know I'm going off on a tangent, but this is my show. I can do that. My point is this. All right, I'm going to get back on track. When I came back, and the fireworks affected me. The first 4th of July fireworks show that I went to, the first time, right after I'd gotten back, it did take me right back there. The real big boom, boom, not the sparkly stuff, but the ones that shoot up and they just make the bright white flash, and that's it. The mortars, I guess you'd call them mortars, the mortar shells. Those did take me right back. I was right back there in a hole looking out across the desert or in the Amtraks and stuff. But you know what I did? I sat quietly and I just thought. I sat by myself and my wife picked up on it. She's like, hey, you all right? I'm like, yeah, I'm cool. I'm good. I'm just thinking. And after it was over with, I got up and went off. And that happened for a few more years, and then eventually, I still very much appreciate the fireworks, and I understand that. But you know what it never occurred to me to do? It never occurred to me to wrap myself in the I'm a victim banner. And this is where I lose some of you, or where you start, oh, stop bothering these poor people. Blah, blah, blah. Listen to me, and listen to me good. The following segment of Student of the Gun is brought to you by Frog Lube. It just works. Century Arms, the makers of the C39 100% made in the USA AK. Check them out at centuryarms.com. And Brownells, brownells.com. If you've got a gun, they've got something for you.
Is that it?
You didn't like that? You didn't like that segue?
That was pretty good. You caught me off guard.
I got you off guard. I think I caught the whole audience off guard, too. Jared's got something. He's got a snippet to play for you guys. I want you to listen to it.
These are great days we're living, bros. You're jolly green giants walking the earth with guns. These people we wasted here today are the finest human beings we will ever know. After we rotate back to the world, we're gonna miss not having anyone around who's worth shooting.
And as tongue-in-cheek as that seems, it's 100 for military veterans, especially combat veterans, people that were in a combat arms unit. It's 100% right on. It is you have, quite frankly, in battle, combat, whatever you want to call it. Talk to somebody who was in Vietnam or whatever. Yeah, you have to kill those people because they're the bad guys. But then you come back and you're faced with this weakness that is, at least for me, this slothful laziness, this weakness. And what got me was this lack of discipline on the part of the citizens, civilians. It used to drive me absolutely bonkers. To just, people were so like half-ass and lazy. I'm like, you wouldn't last one freaking day in the Marine Corps. Well, obviously.
That's why they didn't go.
Yeah, obviously. But and the other thing that bugged me was when I got back, there's too much light at night. Because in the desert, when the sun goes down, that's it.
It's dark.
It's dark. And not only that, but when you're in combat, you exercise with this thing that they call light discipline, which means it's not just...
You don't use your light?
Yeah, you don't use... Not only... It's not white lights. You don't even use a red lens unless you're covered with a poncho or underground or something. No light. You just allow your eyes to adjust and you move about accordingly. And that's the way we lived for months on end. You know, you just live that way. When I got back to the United States, and I was in... I didn't live in a big city, but I lived in town, And at night, when the sun would go down, and I was walking around at night, I always felt like I was exposed because there's too much light. And I got over it, obviously. But, I mean, when I first got back, like, the first few months or whatever, I was like, there's just too much light.
Let me shoot these lights real quick.
It needs to be darker. I can operate in the dark. I'm good. I can move in the darkness. I'm cool with that. My wife could never figure that out. When we got married, we're a young couple. I'd get up, and I would move around in the bedroom in complete darkness, and I would find what I needed to find, get what I needed to get, and, like grab my clothes or whatever or something. And she's like, I don't see why you don't just turn the light on. Like, I don't need the light on.
Need it.
I know where everything is. I'm good. But Ben hit me to this article, and it's on VanityFair.com. And you're like, Vanity Fair? What the farfig-nugan is Mookie and you doing reading Vanity Fair? Well, check yourself for 5 seconds. The story is called How PTSD Became a Problem Far Beyond the Battlefield. And it's by an author named Sebastian Junger. And this dude is right smack bullseye on. It's a detailed article. It's a long article. It's not a short read. It's not a Paul Markel article. It's 1,500 words. But self-deprecating humor. He goes into great detail about the history of what we call shell shock or, battle stress or what have you. And it is very real. However, it goes away. Very, very few people have PTSD for the whole rest of their lives. Think about it. Ladies and gentlemen, battle and combat and warfare is not new to this generation. It has gone on since the history of the history. Then it's the history of the world. And gunpowder was invented some 500 plus years ago. So people have been knocking each other's out with cannons and muskets and mortars for centuries and centuries. Think about think about the Revolutionary War, the War of 1812, when ships used to get into combat, I'm talking a lot about ships, and just shoot each other to splinters with cannonballs. Think there's a little stress involved there? Just a little bit. But we always act like, and this is symptomatic for our spoiled crybaby generation, is that everything we experience is brand new, and it's never occurred in the history of humanity until now. One of the things I found disturbing and sadly not really all that surprising was in this story. It said that diagnosis of PTSD and PTSD disability have skyrocketed, and they're even greater today than they ever have been, despite the fact that our casualty rate in the current war on terror, whatever you want to call it, is far lower than Vietnam and certainly far lower than World War II. We lost more. When I said Guadalcanal, the battle for Guadalcanal, the battle for Iwo Jima, we lost more people in one single campaign than we did during the entire global war on terror. Now, I'm not saying we should have more people dead. That's not what I'm saying at all. But if you compare, there should have been millions of PTSD disability recipients after World War II. Why were there not? Did they not go through horrors? Did they not see their friends killed? Were they not involved in just phenomenal, huge, monstrous naval battles, land battles, and so forth. Were they not involved in that? Then why this spike? And that's what this article goes into. I'm not going to get into the article because it's a long one, but we're going to put the link in the show notes for you. If you want to read it, you can either go to the Student of the Gun Facebook page, follow me, go to our Twitter, or you can just go to Student of the Gun Radio and look it up. I highly suggest anybody who is a veteran, who's in the military, or who knows someone who is, and even if you're not. And Ben said, he goes, dude, I know when I said Vanity Fair, you're like, what? And I was. And he said, this is how smart Sebastian Junger is. He wrote this article and he submitted it to Vanity Fair, not so that you and I, the meat eaters and the Mongos, could read it, but so the hippie liberal leftist puke faces would have to see it, so they would be aware of it. That's why it's there, to put it in their faces, not in ours. But you need to read this. And what I'm going to tell you guys is this. All right, first of all, I think this military vets PTSD signs in your front yard, here's what I'm going to tell you what I think about that. It's crap. It's a bunch of crap. Stop cloaking yourself in the victim cloak. Oh, what do you know, Paul? What do you know? What do you mean, what do I know? What did I tell you at the beginning of this show? I'm not just a dude who comes and sits in front of a microphone. I've been doing this my entire life. All right? My entire life. I gave my college years to Uncle Sam, and I was glad to do it. But you know what? I knew what I was doing. My grandfather knew what he was doing. My uncles knew what they were doing. My great-great-grandfather, when he signed up to be part of Washington's army, and they lost in New York and White Plains, they lost the Battle of Brooklyn Heights. When they lost all those battles and had to march on foot, they didn't have trucks or horses, on foot all the way down and cross the frozen Delaware River. They knew what they signed up for. You mean they didn't sign up for a paycheck and health care? Health care benefits and free college. Yeah, that's what my great-great-great-grandfather signed up so he could get free college and health care benefits. Well, sadly, that's the way it is with the younger generation now. And that is exactly what I've been saying on this show, is we have people that are joining the military because they've been used car salesmen tricked into joining the military. When I walked into the Marine Corps recruiter's office, and I told this story, but I'm going to tell it again because it's apropos. It is apt. I walked in there, and he said, hey, I'm Staff Sergeant Renner or whatever, and da-da-da-da-da, tell me about yourself. And he sat down across the desk from me. He goes, all right. He goes, before we go any farther, I want you to tell me why I should recommend you to the Marine Corps. What can you bring to us? It's like a job interview. I was like, I said something that a 19-year-old would say. It doesn't matter. But the point is I was like, wow, this dude is different. This is different because you guys, when you graduate from high school, I guess it is the same as it was 20, 30, 40 years ago. As soon as you graduate from high school, the recruiters are hammering you. If you're a physically fit, a male, 18-year-old male, Navy recruiter, Air Force recruiter, Army recruiter, they're all boom, 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 hammering you. Actually, the Marine Corps recruiter never contacted me once. But the Army guys, the Navy guys are like, oh, come on in, man. Come on into the recruiting office. Come on, I'll buy you lunch, get you a hamburger, blah, 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 buy you Coke. And then they want to sit you down, and they pull out the folders, and they're like, if you join, I can get you this, and we can give you this, and free schooling, and blah, 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 and benefit. Oh, it's all about you. We're going to give you. The Marine Corps is like, we're not going to promise you anything. What do you have to offer us? Why should we allow you to attempt to become a Marine? I don't know. But you should. It's a good question. And I did, and so, and the rest is history. But here we are in the year 2015, and we have an entire generation of soldiers, sailors, airmen, whatever, who were recruited that way. They were recruited with the, what are you going to give me? What benefits do I get? They're like freaking civil servants in green uniforms. And so what do we expect from these people? They get out, and the first thing they do is get in line to collect disability. Hey, Jared, do I have a VA card?
No.
No, I don't. You know why I don't? People are dumbfounded. They're like, you don't have a VA card? How do you not have a VA card? Aren't you a veteran? It's like you have to get a VA card to be a bona fide veteran. Yeah, actually, I'm not a veteran. I'm still active. I haven't hung it up yet. But my mission is not ended. People are dumbfounded. Like, no, I'm not. I don't have a VA card. And no, I've never one time gone to the VA. No, that's a lie. I went there one time, and they basically gave me this the runaround, and I was like, yeah, okay, I'm done with you people, I'm out of here. And that was like 25 years ago, something like that. But folks, this constant seeking of victimization has got to stop. It has to end. Noise, I got a note in here that says, all right, dudes, this is just for combat veteran pipe hitter type dudes. I never get nervous when the machine gun fire starts. I get nervous when it stops. You with me, hippies? You dudes are with me. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you one other thing. Oh, Colonel Tim Karcher, we have a friend, mutual acquaintance, Colonel Tim. We took a 3-day Ken Hackthorne pistol fighting rifle, AR-15 rifle class with Tim. Tim is a very special man because not only was, when we met him, was he still active duty Army as a colonel, he was standing there on 2 bionic legs.
Severed above the knee.
Severed above the knee. The dude in this story had all 4 of his limbs. He's running around playing football catch with his kid. He had all 4 of his limbs, and he's worried about firecrackers. Colonel Tim is walking around on bionic, legs, standing in a class amidst heavy gunfire, like a champ, like a freaking boss, to claim the vernacular of the younger generation. You got Tim, who gave 2 of his limbs to the country, and he's not riding around with a truck that says, "Disabled veteran, you need to pay attention to me." It's crap. Stop it. Oh, but I didn't sign up for that. I signed up for free college and health care and benefits and da-ba-da-ba-da-ba. You know what? I'm sick and tired of this. We have enough victims in America. I almost said veterans. The United States has become this melting pot of victims. We long since have turned every single minority group, except Asians, into victims. Oh, you're not a man, you're a woman? And stop referring to women as females. That dog over there is a female dog, or it's a male dog. That cat is a female. An adult human being is a woman. So stop referring to adult human beings as females. They're women. Use the language correctly. It's degrading. So a woman is no different than a dog or a cat or whatever. No, stop it. And this victimization. Everyone's a victim. Everyone's a victim. And why do you suppose that is? Who do you think benefits when everybody out there is running around like becoming part of these victimization groups? Because what do victimization groups need? They need a rabbi, right? They need a big brother. They need a spokesman. They need an ombudsman. They need someone to step in and say, "Oh, little victim group, we're going to make everything okay for you. We're going to give you other people's money to make your life better." It's crap, and stop it. And before I go, I'm going to give you one more thing. You know what? I know people get effed up in the military. I have about 50% of my hearing. Guess how much disability I get? None! Because I sucked it up. Oh, who are you to tell it? Let me tell you what, if you joined the military and got out, and the first thing you did was went and got in line to get disability, you're wrong. You're freaking wrong. This country was not founded, based, and turned into the greatest nation on earth by people who got in line to collect disability. That should be your last resort, not your first resort. But for far too many people, that's their first thing. That's the first thing they do. Oh, I got to go down to the VA and file my disability paperwork. What? Go out and work. There are people walking around on two legs with two functioning arms that are going to get disability payments. Bull crap. And if you don't like it, and if I hurt your feelings, shut that off. Go ahead and delete this, because I'm tired of it. I'm not playing this victim crap anymore. There are enough victims in America. We need more victors. How are we going to pull this nation out of the quagmire that it's currently in? Have you looked around? Have you looked around the nation? Do you not see that it is crumbling? And your solution is to get in line and get on a list? Become part of a victim group? If you're a United States soldier, Marine, sailor, airman, and you're not pulling your weight, I don't want to talk to you. I don't even want to see you. What did you think it was all about? Do you know what civic duty is about? It's called service. It's not called give me what I can get. We have enough give me what I can get in America right now. We don't need to add to the list.
Yeah, I think that he needed to get that out. Did you need to get that out?
Yeah. And one more thing. If I see one more United States military veteran who joins me on LinkedIn and puts their employment status as disabled, I'm going to delete you. Is that what you are? That's what that's your status. That's employment status, disabled. What? That's crap. And you're better than that. I know people, Colonel Tim, in a freaking wheelchair, has more chutzpah than dudes that are walking around on two good legs and two good arms. Oh, but I lost some of my hearing and I have nightmares. I have nightmares too. Lots of people have nightmares. It's called being a man. It's called being a human being. It's called fighting for what's valuable.
But that's the thing, is that there's not much value placed on anything. There's value is no more. Value is not taught.
Comfort über alles. Comfort über alles. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's about, according to the clock on the wall, that's all the time I have to talk with you guys today. I certainly appreciate you stopping by, spending a little bit of quality time with me, Professor Paul Markel. And did we just jump the shark? I don't need summer soldiers. I don't need sunshine patriots. You do me no good. If you don't like it, there is the door. Bye. But for the rest of you, I want you to come back tomorrow for Student of the Gun on Wednesday. It's going to be episode 200. What? Bicentennial? You're freaking me out, man. Gun games, sports, and recreation. Let's talk all about it tomorrow on Wednesday. And don't forget, Wednesday is SWAT Fuel Fitness Talk Day. And I'm sure Jared is now sweating because he's going to have to come up with a topic within 24 hours. Yep. All right, remember, you're a beginner once, but you should indeed be a student for life. And go read that article. Go read that article.
And go to studentofthegunradio.com.
Go to studentofthegunradio.com.
Yep. Episode 199.
I'm going to put the link. I'm going to tell Zach put the link there. Not the whole article because it's way long. Just put the link. They can do it. All right? Rock on. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.